sorry about the mishap that happened. We had some technical difficulties back at the studio, but we are back and we are talking about music. Music and its role in enhancing our storytelling. Just for the people who have just joined us, I'm going to just go through how we started, and for those of you who are with us and jumped off, just for you to recap. Well, we want to look at what the purpose of music. Why is music important? And the objectives are just simply to draw people, to draw the audience in. You want to be able to draw many people towards the story. You want to be able to captivate your audience. You also want to enhance the experience. You want to make sure that the people watching are having such a good time and enjoying your storytelling. So these are the main objectives for why we need music in the content that we produce. You know, they're different. Music is very manipulative. As I said, I think that was on Wednesday. You can use music to make people cry. You can make music to make people laugh. You can use music for just to captivate emotions. There's a saying that music was the only thing that was not created. And that's why it has such a deep touch with the innermost parts of one's being. I remember watching a story. I think it was during the days of Hitler, and this army raided a certain village, and when they raided it, it was during Christmas. It was during the Christmas season, and so when they raided the place, these people were playing music, and as they were playing, as the soldiers came to raid and kill the people in that village, the people in that village started to play Christmas carols. And as soon as they started to play Christmas carols, these people who had come to kill the Nazi soldiers, they joined in the Christmas carols and they started to have fun. And the end of the story is that they left that village just because of music. Music is another language. It has a way it connects people. And that's the main purpose to why we love to use it while we're telling stories, because it crosses borders. You can speak to people in Japan, people in South Korea, people in Vietnam, people in Australia. Everyone can simply understand what you're trying to say when you listen to music, that specific music. So it's a very, very, very powerful tool. And I would want to encourage as many that can, please, if you know that you're gifted in even if production, at least you know how to play the piano, you maybe know how to play the guitar. Once you have some of those skills, you can slowly begin to take on courses. And of course, at Quad A, we're going to be offering courses on composing and how to do it right. But also we understand that there are many people, because of the budgets. These days, budgets are not as good as they were in the 80s or in the early 90s. So people have begun to save up a little more. So we would want to encourage the people that rather than you just downloading music, well, if the budget doesn't allow, then, well, download the music from online. But the disadvantage with downloading music online is that sometimes it may not tie the story as much as you would want, uh, you end up, like, for example, we're going to play this short film we did together with Mr. Shap Sewali. Mr. Shap Sewali is a very, very good director, and we worked on this short film together. Many of you have been following this class, this free course. You have we have it's the short film we have been using to show you the examples of all the different departments and different components of audio post production. So we're going to just share with you how music was enhancing different emotions within the film. So I would encourage you as a content creator, please, as much as possible, have a discussion with any composer, any producer that you know, and be very meticulous with them. You can tell them, please, at this point, we can play this part may be soft because we want people to feel this emotion. And simply, why do you need to have that detail? It's just to draw the audience in. You want to make sure you can captivate and draw the audience in. You also want to enhance the experience. So let me just go to our project and show you how we try to draw the audience in and also enhance the experience. I will start with trying to draw the audience in. Um, please keep on, if you need us to have, please send in your questions for some of the things that you may not be understanding, so that the people taking out the questions can keep on putting things that you have not understood. Please keep on sending them in so that we can give you proper feedback. At the end, we're going to have a question and answer. So we want to show you how in this film we tried to draw our audience in. Okay, so there is this section. I don't know if you guys remember the characters. We had Anthony, we had Mike, and Anthony is a married journalist, and he's investigating this. There's a syndicate happening of some guys in town who are they're terrorizing a town. So Anthony is an investigative journalist. So this is an investigative kind of TV show. So there is a story on TV. Let me see if I can play for you that story on TV. We wanted to draw the audience in towards that story. I don't know if you can see this. Okay.
Nagano okubakkiriza. Omukyala n'addamu n'aŋŋamba nti ayinza okunnyamba omwana wange ne bamuliizinga mangu. Kakati awo natandika okumwekengera. Ne ŋŋaana okuziika omwana wange nga sinnafuna obukakkafu nti ddala ddala oyo omwana gwe bampa okuziika wange. Kati awo omwami wange ne yeewola ku ssente ne tusasulira for a DNA test. What did the DNA test show? The DNA test proved that the child was not ours, which meant that my baby is alive somewhere. I just want my baby back.
So if you hear that statement, so we just put towards the end of that segment as we go into the title, the intro graphics. We just wanted to draw the audience in to just show that there is this mother on the TV is going through some hard time. They took their baby. I think it was child trafficking, and just to show that, just to draw people in. Now, let me play back that section without music. I'm going to explain to you what we have done and how we have brought in the music into the section. But I just wanted to show you the objective of how we can draw the audience in. Let me just play this section without music.
Which meant that my baby is alive somewhere. I just want my baby back.
So you see, it's a little bit flat. It's like, let me play it again, just for you to really for you to really get it.
Which meant that my baby is alive somewhere. I just want my baby back.
So you see, it's flat. It's flat. But once you put music, now let me play it with music.
Which meant that my baby is alive somewhere. I just want my baby back.
You see, it sort of draws you into that story. Like, this woman is in agony. She just wants her baby back. Play it one more time.
Which meant that my baby is alive somewhere. I just want my baby back.
Yeah. So you can see how we have been able to draw the audience in. And another part I want to show you about us drawing the audience in and also enhancing the experience is when Anthony actually meets this mother. This mother used to work at a quarry. A quarry? Is it quarry? Quarry? Where they hit stones and smash stones. So just listen to how. Let me just play it without the music and play it with the music. So without the music.
Might lead to an arrest. So in light of all this, I came to you to speak of your experience. I'd like to.
How is talking going to help me, huh? How is talking going to bring back my son?
I've done a lot of digging. And you know what I discovered? Nekesa, you're not the only person that this has happened to. There are others. And I want the people who have done this brought to justice.
Justice. I can't afford justice. Justice is not for people like me. Look, thank you, but I'm afraid you've wasted your time coming here. I have to get back to work, otherwise I'll fall in trouble with my boss.
So you see, first of all, amazing performance by this actor. She's called Jida. But she acted this part so well that you see her anguish. She's disgusted about Anthony and how Anthony is trying to do investigate. She's tired. She has gone through this whole dance with the media and nothing seems to be coming through. So I'm going to play this whole section again with music, and you listen to the difference that it makes.
Might lead to an arrest. So in light of all this, I came to you to speak of your experience. I'd like to.
How is talking going to help me, huh? How is talking going to bring back my son?
I've done a lot of digging. And you know what I discovered? Nekesa, you're not the only person that this has happened to. There are others. And I want the people who have done this brought to justice.
Justice. I can't afford justice. Justice is not for people like me. Look, thank you, but I'm afraid you've wasted your time coming here. I have to get back to work, otherwise I'll fall in trouble with my boss.
Here, my card. My number and email.
I know what your card is for.
Just in case you change your mind.
So, I played it long so you can get it in context. But you feel that the music sort of, it enhances that performance. Now, I played it for you before without it being enhanced. And then I played it with you with the music. And you can feel that it draws you in a little bit more into what the story is all about. But it also enhances that performance. With the gentleman in the background. In fact, the director emphasized that they wanted something percussive. They wanted more of a percussive feel to the in terms of the entire palette. Actually, this now has led me into another segment. When you are dealing with music and you want to get the right feel, you see how artists have a color palette. You as either the person working on your content, if you may be the video editor, if you're either the producer, whoever you are and are working on the content, you need to sort of have a color palette in your mind. What color of tones, not color, the literal color, but in terms of what color of tones am I going to use to captivate? So if you're talking about, it's an action movie, you want to have some epic, especially if it's for cinema. If you're designing something for cinema, then the things that the palette that you're going to choose from has to be this epic, these big tones. And there are many instruments that can enhance those tones. Like, for example, big drums. Like in Uganda here, we have embutu. I don't know if in Burundi, they also have those long, big drums. I've seen them in Burundi. I think also Rwanda shares them. But I know in Buganda, there are these big drums that are called embutu. So if you want your music palette to have something cinematic, something to show the audience that this is something big, it's a cinematic feel. If you're doing music for anything cinematic, always look for tones that enhance, that are big tones, because people watch movies, films in theaters, and they're on very big screens. So you can't have a palette of something small. It's not nice. You can even see animations. Animations have big palettes because they are being played on in cinema. So whenever you are going to do anything theatrical, anything that is cinema related, make sure that in your color palette you can use big things. And I've given you an example like of long big drum. In China they call them taikos. When you hit the taiko, it decays, it's sustained, it takes long to die down. Those are the sounds that you want to select in your color palette. If you're working on a TV shows are normally the color palettes that you use are more synthetic, or they're not as big as a theatrical cinema. The color palettes that people normally choose in TV, because TV shows are not seen in cinema. TV shows are normally watched on streaming platforms, on TVs. And so you know that the TV cannot reproduce some of those big epic things. So what normally your color palette that you choose from a color palette that is moderate, something maybe a guitar, maybe a small piano, something that these mediums can play back through, like for example TVs or phones. People sometimes these days are watching TV shows on their phones. People spend most of their time. So if you're designing content that is for TV shows, anything like that, you want to make sure you can stay on with your color palette that is not as epic as theatrical. So a color palette in terms of tones, the tones that you're going to use. So even as you choose, if maybe you're scouting through music and you want to purchase music, make sure that you know what that music is going to be used for. If it is going to be used for anything theatrical, then you know that you're going to use tones that have something, that are big, have a lot of space in them to enhance. If you're going to work for TV, you may not have necessarily, it's give or take. You may not necessarily have to use big tones. You can use moderate tones. Maybe a slight good guitar melody and something like that. So back to our music project. Let me just go back here. Back to this. The other thing that we talked about is enhancing. For example, I will share with you, Mr. Shapsewali wanted something, because this was a Ugandan show, and he wanted to showcase our Ugandan, how the Ugandan investigative news reporting atmosphere is. So we then came up with this. I'm going to play for you the title track that we came up with, and for you to get an idea of how the color, first of all, the color palettes that we use, because remember this was a TV show. It was not going in cinema. It's going to be played on TVs, maybe on internet. So let me just play this for you. Let me play that again. So it starts from when they're talking about the child being lost, then into the title track.
Proof that the child was not ours, which meant that my baby is alive somewhere. I just want my baby back.
let me just explain what's happening here. Because we want to have a Ugandan feel, we decided to go with Baksimba. And because this happens in the central region, Kampala. So one of the things that we put is, if you listen very carefully, you have like a Baksimba, tap, 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 holding the rhythm section. And if you realize they are not so big drums like do do, because it's not so cinematic. They're quite subtle, but they create a percussive feel that brings in a feel of it places the audience in a region. So you're placing the audience and saying, hey, we are in Kampala. We are in Kampala, and what brings out that Kampala feel? It's those Baksimba drums. And then we have a melody that sort of talks about the anguish of the people in Kampala and what they're feeling. And so let me just play that again, and you listen to some of those things that I'm explaining. So you can feel that the Baksimba drum really carrying the rhythm section, and then you can also hear the melody showing the anguish of the people who are being tormented by these drug lords. So that is the color palette and you see it keeps on. Now this is the thing. Once you have your color palette ready, then you can make a theme. Now, this is the theme. This is the title track. This is the title track for the TV show. Now, when you will hear some of those elements reoccurring in different places to just enhance those parts, but it keeps the entire show knit together, showing people that this is the same show. So, in other words, I'm not going to play this title track and then change to something completely out of my palette. You need to remain within your color palette. Otherwise, your painting becomes dirty. So you need to maintain your color palette. So let's see. Let me try and play for you this other section in the beginning. Yes, this is a very good section. So this is the beginning. This is when we are beginning the TV show, and listen to some of the things I was talking about, the color palette, and how that color palette keeps consistent. So we are using Baksimba, that Baksimba rhythm, and Baksimba is I think it's a dance. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's a dance in Buganda. And it sort of places the entire show within Kampala. So listen to this intro. So if you're very keen and attentive, you realize that we are having a baksimba sort of rhythm happening in the background, sort of showing, setting the tone for the entire TV show. Let me just play the music alone with the picture and remove all the sound effects and the dialogue. Here we go. So you can appreciate the power of music and how it is really enhancing and giving pace to the music. Now, if you're fortunate enough, you could find this. You could scout the whole internet and maybe you could find maybe a composer who composed a Baksimba rhythm, but it is very hard, especially when you're making content maybe from East Africa. It's very hard to get a Kenyan, maybe a Kenyan composer who has put all the Kenyan rhythms, or a Ugandan composer who has put all the Ugandan rhythms online. So sometimes that's why we are urging that as content creators, you need to start cultivating a relationship with someone who can produce specific music for your content. Um, it enhances, and clearly you can see that it's setting the pace, it's setting the tone for what is yet to come. I will play you the last segment, and then I show you how all this was imported. Let's go back to Pro Tools, and let's see. This is towards the end of the show, and let me just play the music from this section here. And remember the color palette that we have been talking about. The palette. I kept on talking about the palette. If you hear the palette in the beginning of the palette at the intro, it's still that Baksimba thing that still rides through. And now I want you to listen to the end of this segment, the end of this show. Now this is when Anthony is home with his wife, and people come are trying to break into the house. Now listen to how this suspenseful moment with the music.
You know, I wanted it for farming. It was my retirement plan. Funny, I have nothing left now. No money, no land.
Christine is one of the many who lost untold amounts to unscrupulous men like Mr. Mogaka. Here is how the scam works.
Hello? 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 Who is this?
So you can see how the entire color palette stayed consistent throughout the whole show. That entire palette was consistent, and we kept on changing the how we kept on coloring the palette different, the painting differently, but the colors were the same, with that back Simba rhythm going throughout. So this just shows you how we are using music to enhance the scene, but also how we are choosing with the color palettes, because we know that this show is for TV, so we are not using things that are too epic. They're quite light, but also we are placing the audience in a certain region. Like, for example, this was in Kampala. Now, if this was in Gulu, we would play something from that region, from the northern region, and would find a way of trying. So you always want to use, for example, you have watched Chinese or Japanese movies. There is always in their palette, there is always maybe that flute that keeps on placing the audience that we are in China, we are in China, we are in China. All those kung fu movies, if you're very keen, they use those palettes to just keep the audience placed in that region. For a sci-fi or an action movie like maybe Avengers, you remember when all the Avengers went to Wakanda? You had those drums. They were trying to show you that now we have reached Africa, we have reached Wakanda. You're trying to place the audience in a specific destination, and you're using music, the music language, to inform the audience. So music is such a powerful tool to draw people in and to enhance experiences, placing people in. You just need to choose the right palette. And now I would want to, this was in regards to music. If you have any questions in regards to music, please send them in. We are collecting them, and we shall respond to them after Q&A. Now, the last thing I want us to cover in our class is delivery formats. So, what is expected? What is expected from people? What is expected from the people who are going to buy your content? What are the objectives? We want to make sure that we have a final mix that is either in stereo, either in 5.1, either in 7.1, or in Dolby Atmos. So this is our final mix. Now, just to go back to our session, let me just show you our session just a little bit. Let me just reduce the screen. So you, if you look at my session today, you see that I have my dialogue here, I have my Foley here, I have my SFX here, I have my backgrounds here, and then I have my music here. So all of these, if I go this side, all these are all my dialogue channels. You can see all this is dialogue. All this right here up to that. All these are my dialogue channels. And I remember we went through dialogue, and if you didn't maybe attend that class, please check out, just visit our YouTube page. You will find that class there. So that all our dialogue channels are coming to this one big channel called dialogue. Then all our Foley, our SFX, and our backgrounds are all coming to this FX bus. And all our music is coming to this music bus. I hope you can see them clearly. So this right here, let me try and see if I can zoom in. I hope you can see this clearly now. So right now, all my dialogue is entering this channel. You can see that's DX, and all my SFX channels are coming through this, and all my music is coming through this channel. So why do we put music in these? Why do we compile all the effects in one bus? We do this so that we can easily have control over the entire mix. For example, if I want to control my dialogue, I can simply control the entire dialogue track with this right there. If I want to control all my sound effects, I can simply control them with that. If I want to control my music, I can simply control my music with that. And all of these tracks finally come out to this final output here. I remember last time I color coded it as red. So this is where all of them combine. Now, this is where the final mix is placed. All my dialogue, my effects, and my music are all coming to this bus here. It's called comp. And what plugins do I put on my comp channel just to make sure that I maintain the audio standards? So Waves, I remember explaining to you about Waves. Waves has this very good loudness meter. Please, if you can get yourself the Waves plugins, this is a very, very good plugin. It's by Waves, and it helps you meter your content and make sure that it falls within that category. Let's just recap and show you this. So we want to make sure that we have our final mix in these different formats. We want to make sure we have dialogue only. We want to make sure we have sound effects only. We want to make sure we have music only, and we want to make sure we have music and effects only. All these different things are needed many times by different distributors or different content, people who buy content, because they want to maybe translate your film or your content into another language. Like, for example, you would give your content, your music and effects. Music and effects, you would give it to a dubbing facility that would then dub your content into maybe another language, maybe French, maybe Chinese or something like that. So you need to make sure that's why we are distributing. That's why if you look at our Pro Tools, that's why we're distributing these channels differently, so that we are able to bounce just dialogue. We're able to just bounce sound effects, to just bounce music, and then we can route and bounce music and together with music and sound effects alone, so that people can dub the thing in another language. Or the other reason to why we also break it apart and have dialogue only is when making trailers. When you're making a trailer, you want to make sure that the people making the trailer have only dialogue, and they can use whatever sound effects they have and use whatever music they have. So that's why you want to break to put all these delivery formats differently, so that people can have access to, and use them for the different things that they need. So make sure that as you print the final mix in stereo. I kept on saying that we're going to have classes to show you on how to mix in 5.1 and stereo. But once you have broken down all these different things and you have mixed the normal standard that everyone gets is stereo. 5.1 and 7.1 or Atmos, that comes in when you're going to do for home entertainment or theatrical, when you're going to do cinema and 5.1. If you really want to dive in, we shall be offering courses. Just keep following us on our pages, but also on our website. We shall keep on informing you on that time. And this will be starting next year. And so you're splitting all these different things so that you can be able to give them for different reasons. Dialogue only for maybe trailers, music and effects only, you want to use it for dubbing. Music only and SFX only, those can also be used for maybe making a trailer or for teaching purposes or education purposes. So the delivery formats you have to always make a print master with all these different files. Dialogue only, sound effects only, music only, and music and effects for dubbing. And so I earlier showed you this great plugin. This plugin by Waves. It's called WLM, Loudness Meter. So as you mix, let's say you're mixing for TV. The beauty about WLM is that it comes with pre-configured standards for where you're going to deliver. If you're going to deliver on YouTube, if you're making content for YouTube or Spotify, you can simply dial that in and it's -14. You see this? Remember I spoke to you about dialogue. That was on the first class. And I told you that always as you mix around dialogue. And dialogue should always be using root mean square. That's RMS. -23 for theatrical or loudness standards. Now, in this case, if you're going to be putting on YouTube, -14. So what that does is that as you play your content, let me play maybe this other section here.
Box dotted every hour. Box.
That you were in yesterday?
So as you mix your project, you want to make sure that you keep track.
Yeah.
You can put this
Have you ever been a
maybe
scout?
away and you
Pardon?
make
A
sure
scout.
that
Scouting.
if you're mixing now, this project was not mixed for YouTube. That's why you see it's falling. So in this meter, there is short term, there is long term. Long term tells you how long the entire length of your movie, the entire length of the entire movie, how loud the entire movie is. This right here. This tells you the entire length of the movie, how loud the movie is. But this short term tells you how loud your movie is in the short term. And then this tells you your dynamic range. The range between your loudest and your softest parts. But the places we want to keep our eyes on are this short term and long term places. And then right here you have, please check out this plugin on the Waves. When after this class, I will put a link for this plugin so that you have an in-depth look at the different components about it and how it can help you mix your entire movie with dialogue in the center and all the other elements working around dialogue, and how it can help you maintain a standard loudness throughout the movie. I'll leave the link after we have finished this class. So the places we want to keep our eyes on are this short term and momentary. Momentary is like RMS. RMS is root mean square. We want to make sure that the average loudness, its average loudness in the shortest time possible. In this case, about 3 seconds or even less. In the shortest time possible. How loud is my content? So we're going to keep our eyes on momentary and short term. So let me play the content.
That you were in yesterday?
Now, remember, we're not mixing for YouTube. We are mixing maybe say for Netflix. Now, when we mix for Netflix, the plugin will automatically put in the settings for Netflix and what Netflix standards of loudness are. and the target is minus 27. So let's play
That you were
this.
in yesterday?
Well, yeah.
Remember that this plugin is on my master bus, where sound effects and my music are being routed to.
That you were in yesterday?
Well, yeah.
Have you ever been a scout?
Pardon?
A scout. Scouting. Have you ever been one?
So you see,
Long time
when
ago,
the dialogue
primary
is
Remember the
working
Scouts
well,
motto?
it shows you a tick
Be
that it
prepared,
is
yes.
Be prepared.
right here in the corner. It shows you a tick that
You see, Mike, the work we do is all about good
So if I
instinct
increase my
and
dialogue-
timing and preparation. If you're not prepared when a story breaks, someone else gets the scoop. And sometimes
I
lack
know. And I'm really sorry.
sometimes lack of preparation might cost us more than just a
you
story.
see, whenever my dialogue
the
is
people that
doing
we're
well,
dealing with,
it brings that tick. That
They may not seem dangerous right now,
you see that right there.
but as we begin to close in, they feel the
So
pressure.
I increased my dialogue just a little bit to just make sure we can hit that target. So if you mix your entire show and your long term is showing 28, that means there are some elements that maybe you need to increase so that you make sure that you hit the target of minus 27. Minus 27 is the standard for YouTube, for Netflix. For if you're going to be doing TV in America you choose ATSC, which is the American standard for TV, and that is minus 24. So this will not, long term should show minus 24. Long term, in other words, the entire length of the loudness of your entire project should hit minus 24. If you're going to do for the British, that is in Europe, use EBU. EBU minus 18. That is LUFS, this one. You use that one for British. These are all standards that were made by the different countries. Like, so in Europe, if you're going to make anything going to Europe, make sure that you use EBU. And EBU, the target is minus 23 right here. This is where you see the target, minus 23. If you're going to make anything for Korea, anything going to Japan, you use OP. And you see this dialogue. Now, you see it has different options. It has all and it has dialogue. If you're mixing dialogue, that means you put the plugin on your dialogue meter. And you mix your dialogue. You put this meter and just choose dialogue. But if you're mixing everything, dialogue, sound effects, music, you choose all. You see this right here, all. So that will show the entire, and the target for Japan, China, the Asian side is minus 24. South Africa has not yet brought out, I think they brought out a standard. It's also minus 24. So you could use the British thing if you're mixing any content for Africa. If you're mixing anything going on DSTV or any other platform in Africa. So these are the different loudness standards that you use and you ingest into this plugin to help you mix right. Let me quickly go to our PowerPoint. So for TV, if you can see this, for TV, if you're going to do TV, I showed you the different regions. For TV, these are normally the targets that you're hitting. For social media, any content that you want to put on social media, these are the targets that you're hitting. For streaming, say you're doing Netflix, you're doing Hulu, you're doing Amazon Prime, these are the targets that you hit. But this is a Netflix standard. Then for cinema, if you're mixing for cinema, these are the standards. These are the readings that you want to see on your meter. These are the readings, minus 23. So this is very important so that you maintain. Now, that's why when you listen to many people's content, they're inconsistent because you are not monitoring your general loudness standard. So it is very, very important to maintain, to always use a meter. There are other meters, there are other softwares, there are other plugins that are out there that can help you monitor your loudness standards. But like, for example, there is New Gen. You can check out New Gen. New Gen also has very beautiful plugins that are used for loudness standards. But there's also this Web's plugin, WLM, loudness meter. It's one of the ones that we use. I think Isotope also has another loudness meter that you can put, and you always want to put this at the end. The other element after monitoring your loudness is make sure that you put a limiter. Now, remember we were mixing in 5.1. In 5.1, that is simply 6 channels: left, center, right, left surround, right surround, and you have the LFE. The LFE is the 0.1. That's the 6th channel. And we will get into in-depth when we're doing our internship, if you join us for our internship classes. But that's next year. So if this will teach you how to mix in 5.1. So we're doing this project in 5.1, and those are simply 6 channels. So what you want to do is, remember, we wanted to, all our content should never exceed the true peak minus 2. So we put this limiter here. This plugin is called C360 surround compressor. So what it does, it just puts a limiter. I think there's another one. It's an L360. So C360 is a compressor. If you want to compress some different elements, L360 is limiter. And so you want to put a limiter on your final bus and put it to minus 2. Make sure that, I don't know if you can see this. Let me try and zoom in. Try and zoom in further. I hope you can see that. So you want to make sure that your reading is minus 2. So that when you play your content...
You were in yesterday?
So our dialogue is coming from the center channel right here.
Yeah.
Have you ever been a scout?
And
Pardon?
so maybe let's go to places that have high dynamic range.
If there's nothing else.
Maybe let's go to the end here.
Untold amounts to unscrew.
Hello?
So if you notice, all the channels are playing. Okay, this is my LFE. This is my subwoofer. I also want to put it at minus 2. So that nothing clips. You don't want to have your stuff clipping. And the standard for any content that you're doing is you make sure that it's at minus 2.
Hello? Who's this?
So this just is like a protective measure to just make sure that the content that you're sending out there is not clipping, and is right, is well balanced. So you want to make sure that your entire content is well done and is coherent. So that's the plugin that you use. And you put it normally on your final compressor. So quickly, just to show you how to bounce those different files we talked about. So if you want to, right now, I had explained to you we're using Pro Tools Ultimate. Pro Tools Ultimate has some very good features that you're able to bounce. So what can happen is I can create different buses to just print, just dialogue, print SFX alone, print music, and print my final mix. So I can route and create a new channel and say, new track. I want you to record. It's going to be an audio track, and that audio track is going to be a dialogue track. Let's just call it dialogue. And right now, because we're working 5.1, it's going to be a 5.1 track. So it creates that bus. And now, because we want maybe our effects and music for dubbing, we shall on the keyboard we shall press Control and Shift and create new track. And remember, it's 5.1, and we shall call this this audio track M and E for music and effects. So what that has done is that it is sending our effects and our music to this track. So we can monitor these ones are used to monitor. Oops, sorry about that. I monitored and I didn't call. I have to create. Now there is feedback. That was called a feedback loop. Sorry if that damaged your ears. But I'm supposed to create a dummy track. So we're going to create a dummy auxiliary. It's still 5.1. We call it dummy. So that dummy track will have no output. So we say no output, so that it doesn't bring back the recording into the project. So if we can monitor and see what's happening. So you can see my effects are coming to M and E. My music, I can also route my music to also come to M and E. Where's my M and E? Yeah, ME, right there. So if you see, you can see that my music is coming there and my effects are also coming there. So what happens is that I just have to arm my channel for recording and play the entire length and record. So I press record and play so that it records my M and E. So right now it is recording my effects and my music. And remember, I routed it to dummy. So and then I got this dummy channel and I routed it to nothing so that it doesn't bring it back to the project. So maybe let's stop there. Now if you see, it has created a print. This is my print M and E track. This is my track of just my sound effects and my music. So what happens is that I then export. I come to this, I go to the clips section right here. I don't know if you can see that. Sorry, let me just zoom out. So I come to my clip section right in this section right here. So I come, like for example, if I click it, and you see it has been highlighted. It's right here. So I come and export. I export my file, 48, 24-bit depth, interleaved, and I choose my destination and export. So my file will be exported. The M&E file will be exported. Now that file shall be used. That file shall be used by people who are going to do dubbing for you. People who are going to do and that's the same procedure that you go to do dialogue. So the dialogue shall be used for the people going to do effects and the like. So that's how you create all these different files. You create a dummy, you route them. Let me just recap for you so that you're not lost. So what you do is you get the dialogue after you have finished. This is after you've finished mixing. So you route the dialogue into an audio track because you're going to record that track. So you route it. And this is the painstaking job of, it's not painstaking, it's actually enjoyable. And this is the job of a re-recording. That's why we're re-recording. That's why we call them re-recording mixers, because we're re-recording. We're re-recording the entire process. So that's why we have to route the dialogue into an audio track so that it can be recorded. And also, you see this also created a loop, so we have to also take it to dummy, the dummy track that we had created, so that it doesn't loop back. Yeah? So we have created the dummy track so that when we record, and the beauty is that you can record these things simultaneously. It depends on the power of your computer. So you can record dialogue, I can do this again for effects, I can do it for music and effects. So it depends on what the person you're going to deliver this content desires. So you record, sit down, record, play back the entire show. If it's 2 hours, you have to sit down for those 2 hours as you listen and as you watch. If there is a mistake, you can go back, correct the mistake, and start from where you had stopped recording, record over, and then you can export that entire project and create. So this is how you route and record. So this is the re-recording process. And remember that you would have done all this after monitoring. You would have used this to monitor, and you monitored your dialogue. If it's for Netflix, it's for Europe. If it's for Africa, it's for Asia. You can use this meter to show you the different loudness standards. So I think with that, more details can be, if you want to really specialize. We just wanted to give you a brief overview of what should be done for us to make our content really sound amazing. And so we have not really gone into the technical details, but we have tried to cover majorly the aspects that are expected of anyone who is making content. Make sure you can meter it right. Make sure that you import it in right and compartmentalize it, and then route it. After routing it, make sure that it is re-recorded. After you meter it well, then re-record it so that you can deliver it with the people to the people that need that content, either streaming platforms, either TV stations, whatever you're producing content. I really hope that this has given you some insight. I want to right now dive into any questions. Are there any questions? Are there any questions for something that you have not understood that you want to be expounded on? Okay. Wow. There are quite many. So Mugisha Arnold, I think, is asking if you got a project to compose music from a foreign country like Nigeria, South Africa, how do you approach it? You need to do R&D. R&D is simply research and development. You need to research. There's a lot of research that needs to go in. You need to research about what are the things this was the question. If you got a project to compose, uh, like from Nigeria or South Africa, what would you do? So you need to do a lot of research about the different cultures that are in that region, and where is the movie being shot? What era? Is it in olden South African days? Is it in modern Nigerian times? What are the things that are needed to make sure that you are accurate and you can draw the audience to be accurate on the time and the destination? So you need to do a lot of research. You need to know the destination and the cultures in that place. Then you can be relevant as you compose music. I hope I've answered that one. So can I refer to color palette? Let's see, color palette as a genre of music one may choose to work with. No, the color palette. So what I meant by color palette is I meant that those are the tones that you choose to use for a specific the content that you're creating. For lack of a better word, I used a color palette. You know a color palette. A color palette is used by painters. They put red, orange, green, all the colors that they are going to use for a specific painting. If black is not part of their painting, they would not put black in that color palette. So in the same way, what I'm trying to explain by using that analogy is that using your tones. Let's say you're going to work on an action film, a Ugandan action film that is in Gulu. The action happened in Gulu. So in your palette, you'd go and research about the rhythms in Gulu. And because it's theatrical, it's for cinema, you'd want to listen to big sounds in Gulu. What sounds in the Gulu region represent Gulu? So you would go and research and say, okay, in Gulu, people normally like this. So you keep authentic. So those are the tones that you begin to use. And I used it as a color palette analogy. But those are the tones that you begin to use. So I hope I've also answered that confusion, the confusion that had come as using color palette. Okay, this is Jesse. When the re-recording file is bounced, is it in individual stems or it's composite stems? So sometimes when you're bouncing, after bouncing, there are many people. It depends on the person who is broadcasting. If the person who is going to buy your content needs the content together, then when you bounce, it bounces. You make sure that, because normally when you're bouncing, it bounces it as one file. It bounces because remember we have created an audio track, and that audio track, if it's for 5.1, it has all the 6 files in that one track, so it bounces them as one. But if the person wants to have individual stems, then at the point, let me just show you how you do that in Pro Tools. So in Pro Tools, we'll simply come to this part. We'll come and export clip, and so multi-mono. You see this format right here. Let me try and zoom in so that you can see that clearly. So at this part, what format do you want? If the person going to buy your content says, I want to give me left only and right only, or I want you to give me individual stems, then you have to bounce as multi-mono so that they come as mono files. But if they don't mind, they say just give us one file, it's interleaved. Interleaved simply means all the files together as one. Multi-mono means that you bounce them individually. And that's how you do it and export. You export in Pro Tools to the destination that you have chosen. I hope I've answered that question. Okay. Let's go. Mukesh Arnold has asked again, how about content like video games? Would the type of video game dictate the music you compose? Of course. If you're composing music for games, you want it to be as interactive as possible. So you're looking at more accents, more like when someone is about to die, you increase suspense. It's more interactive. However, for film it takes long. You stretch the music for quite some time and to the catch points. So it's not as dynamic as video games or animations. Animations, the characters are always moving. You rarely have in animations or video games parts that are stretched out like theatrical. So yes, how you compose for all these different either video game or film, TV, they vary. It depends on the content that you're producing. So it really does vary. Let's see. Peter, where is Peter? Oh yes. Can one use choirs to create the music needed? Yes, of course. If that's the color palette. That's a color palette that you have chosen to use. But you make sure that you don't just use a choir for the sake of choir. Make sure that you're using the choir and the choir is part of your color palette. If the choir is massive, if you want to talk about something massive and something gothic, then you can use a choir. Don't just use choir for the sake, oh, I have a choir, let me put choir. Why are you using? Always have a why. Don't just do things for the sake of doing them. So always make sure that your color palette is accurate and on point, so that you are able to remain true, and so that the people can be drawn in as much as possible. Don Enoch was asking how much it would cost to create a track for a movie. Well, it depends on the color palette. If we are going to have to travel to Gulu and record some rhythms in Gulu, the budget can vary. If it is something that is maybe shot in town and something that is quick, it can vary. But the thing is that it's very important for you to have a discussion with a composer and come to terms and say that normally this is the way it's supposed to be done. The producers are supposed to come up with an entire budget for a film or content. If you're producing content, say for YouTube, you come up with a budget and say, I will need cameras, I will need audio post-production, I will need dialogue editors, I will need a composer. So you come up with a budget and then you talk to various composers and say, this is my budget. So for this budget, what color palette can we come up with? What tone palette? What tone palette can we come up with using this kind of budget? And talk with your composer. And you can come up with something amazing. There are people who have used 3 instruments for their tone palette. 3. Just drums, maybe a piano. Actually, others have even used 1. I think, was it Badman? Just go and watch Badman. Badman, they used just drums. That was just drums. They went and recorded just drums. And that was their palette. And they made a movie. And the movie worked. So it depends on, if you have a general budget for what it's going to cost you to do that production, talk to your composer and say, this is what I've put aside for what can we do, and you will always have something, an amazing conversation with in that regard. Okay. Others are asking, how do we get to work together? You can just reach out to us via records@quada.com, and we'll get to have a discussion. Records@quada.com. Let me just see. Yeah, that's our email address that you can use to reach out to us, and we can get to have a conversation, even if it's low budget, even if it's high budget. We want to make sure that we can learn, but also the other thing that we are doing is we want as many people to learn these and begin to develop their careers. So if you want to further your career, please send us an email so that we can design courses specifically for you. I remember we had a discussion. When was this? We had a discussion on. Yes, this. Let me just show you this slide. Many of you would want to have careers in any of these. You could want to become a dialogue editor. You could want to do ADR, and that's all you do, and you get paid to do that. You do sound effects, editing sound effects. You can edit backgrounds, become a Foley artist, or just mix Foley, become a music editor, music supervisor, or composer. At Quada Records, we are opening up about 6 slots next year for 6 interns to come and work with each of these. So please send in your credentials, some experience, and you have to have some experience in this field, especially making movies. You could also want to become a re-recording mixer. Normally, a re-recording mixer does these two below. So what we would want is, we would want these are the requirements. We would want a detailed CV. We would want some projects you have worked on, and the objectives and goals of your internship. We want to know what you would want to get by the end of this, so that you can develop careers, because we specialize in audio post-production. So you can get careers in any of these different things. And if you want to be trained and specialize, please send us an email, and so that we can keep in touch with you and share some of those ideas. Please send an email to that. If there are no someone is asking. So if you want more of these classes, just subscribe to our channel. You'll be getting updates. You'll be getting more updates on some. We're going to keep doing this. We're not going to stop. We have started, and we're not going to stop. We're going to keep on doing it. We're going to keep on showing you. We're going to keep on going. Now, this was like sort of a blanket. Now we are going to begin to delve even deeper in dialogue editing. How do you actually start when you get something from an editor? As you do Foley, we shall even arrange pits and show you how to do all this in the pits and all of this. We want to discuss and share with you more. So just keep subscribed and check out our website, check out our social media channels. We'll keep all this, we'll keep in touch with you in case you want. So with that being said, I think let me end here. Any other answers, we'll keep on sharing with you. And it was such a pleasure It was such a pleasure to have you join us today. Thank you for taking out your morning, all your 3 mornings, and being with us. This is what is going to help our East African community. We are going to grow. We will become a formidable force in Africa, especially if we can create our content and create it right. If we can learn the tricks and all the tips behind making successful content, I believe, first of all, we'll increase our value and we can, sell our content for much more. So thank you so much, and look forward to what is yet to come. Please send us your content if you want us to listen through it and know much more. We are open to advice. We are offering free advice. Just send us send us an email, tell us, we can book an appointment, and then we can break down all these different things. So thank you, and God bless.